Thank you very much, Dr. Pavel. At this point, it is my honor and privilege to present to you the resource speakers for our first virtual colloquium 2022-01, and our speakers to present the topic, the present and the future of qualitative research in Asia, strategies and directions. And we have our very own president in AQRA and also currently serving the education department here in the Graduate School of IAS, um, and also a professor in the same department. We have Dr. Arceli Rosario, and well, she is from the Philippines. And another speaker is a faculty at the seminary here in IAS as well, an assistant professor of the Applied Theology Department, and also our chief operating officer of AQRA. And he comes from Russia. We have Dr. Pavel Zubkov. Our next speaker, the third one, is from Indonesia, assistant professor of the business department in the graduate school as well of IAS. And he is our chief financial officer of AQRA. And the last one, yours truly, I'm a faculty at the education department as well and currently serving AQRA as its executive secretary. Thank you.
At this point, we will start our presentation. Dr. Arceli, is this the time to present?
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So I will activate my screen. We will start. So our presentation tonight is about the present and the future of qualitative research in Asia, strategies and directions. The topics that are going to be presented tonight is the indigenous philosophical frameworks, and the next topics will be presented by my colleagues, and I will start with the philosophical frameworks. As you understand, the philosophy, as we are referring here to, is a particular set of ideas about knowledge, truth, and the nature and the meaning of life. It is the use of abstract ideas and beliefs that inform our research. Especially in qualitative research, philosophy plays a major role in formulating, predetermining the way how we interpret reality, how we interpret phenomena, and give meaning to what we see, what we perceive, what we grasp in our data collection. The philosophical framework serves like a lens to the world. When we see the reality within the certain framework that shapes our reality, that helps us understand what we see and or what we perceive. As Lincoln and Denzin say, that all research is interpretive. It is guided by the researcher's set of beliefs and feelings about the world and how it should be understood and studied. In light of this, we need to understand the differences between different kinds of philosophies. Now I will make a comparison. Let's say it's a rough comparison. It's not very deep yet because we don't have time for that, but just to see some highlights. What makes Eastern philosophy distinctive? As you know, Western philosophy emphasizes God's transcendence, transcendental nature. That means God is far away. God is up there in heaven, and we are here on earth. And hence the world around us is a secular world. It distinguishes between the heaven where God resides and the world where human reside. It comes from Greek philosophy, where God was always distinctive God. He was always distant from the creation, from human beings. In Eastern religious tradition of Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism, the focus was always on God's immanence. The immanence emphasizes the contrary nature of God. God is present with us. God is everywhere. God is in everything. When you look at nature, you don't see the mountain, you see the part of God. If you look at the forest or the sea, you can also think of a reflection of a God. This is the idea of immanent nature of God. You see, this all shapes differently the philosophy behind it. Western epistemology and ontology is driven by rationalism and dualism, which separates mind from the matter, human nature from material nature. As I said, the sacred is only in the designated place, let's say the church or the temple or the sanctuary. This is the place for the sacred, but the rest is secular. The rest is not sacred. Whereas in Asian understanding, in Asian view, is all connected. There is no distinction. There is no dualism. Asian epistemology is more relational and dynamic. In Asian perspective, personal self-perception stems out of holistic view of reality and is rooted in a dynamic interaction between humankind and nature. As you can see on this picture, everything is connected. And the humanity is a harmonious part of a natural world. Western philosophical perspective relies on pure reason in understanding the phenomenal world. So reason is a driving force for Western mindset. The Eastern worldview expands humans to be capable of intuitive illumination to grasp ontological reality. In other words, humans cannot only perceive reality by their own reasoning, but also by their own intuition, by the experience, by the experience of others, because they are part of the universe. In traditional European epistemologies, knowledge has mainly been gained through observation and reasoning. In Asian thought, knowledge has been understood in much a broader sense. In moral, in cultural, and social contexts, human mind is structured in accordance with the cosmic, all-embracing organic system. Naturalistic way is the Western way of understanding this world, is in opposition to the relational epistemology, when we understand the reality through relationships. The organic view of the world as the complex structure composed of relations, intersections, and interacting feedback loops. So this is how Western philosophy differs from the Eastern philosophy. Now I will give you an example of action research. I borrowed this example from the book, the Sage Handbook of Action Research. First of all, Western mindset dictates this idea of dichotomous thinking, which is right and which is wrong. And remember, the rational thinking always comes to a deduction, to a complete conclusion, which is right and which is wrong. In Eastern mindset, it's not like that. Dichotomous framework does not accept the middle ground. Whereas in Asian mindset, there can be also some middle ground. There might be some questions that are not like yes or no. There might be some in between. In action research, it is exactly important because action research, as you remember, has a critical framework. So critical framework has this already preset ideas, what is right and what is wrong, true. And that is important because we need to understand that when we step into the action research, we need to think what is the ideal for us, why we want to change the system, why we want to change the way how the teachers the class, or how the school operates, or how the business operates. This critical framework should be framed or should be constructed with understanding what is right for the people and what is wrong. So it is more than just dichotomous thinking, okay? Subjectivity, subjectivity, yes. This is why I now understand better. This is why qualitative research is not easily accepted in the Western mentality because, you know, this is the idea of subjectivity, the black sheep in traditional Western research paradigm. It's a primacy of objective, logical thinking at the expense of personal outlook. But qualitative research is exactly about personal, intuitive and also, experiential process of coming to the truth, coming to the reality. As you know, today, intelligence is no longer about only cognitive abilities. It's also about cultural, emotional, spatial, naturalistic, and other EQ, IQ, it's all of this 9 of this intelligence, different kinds of intelligence, different assets of the intelligence. So we need to understand that the Western research paradigm may not serve well if you are doing this research in Asia, let's say, an action research. In Asian perspective, it's more about intersubjectivity, which is a shared reality, an exchange of ideas. It is where you will construct your reality, where you will understand what is right and what is wrong. It's about asking more questions than inferring and deducting from the very beginning. So I think Eastern mindset is more friendly to qualitative research, Dr. Sele. Developing soft skills by mutual learning and transformation. With the use of soft skills, a solution is negotiated through the reciprocal exchange of personal meanings. So it's not that I have my own meaning that I bring into my research, but I'm constructing, I'm coming to that together with my colleagues, together with co-researchers and my participants. In the end, there is an interesting term that I learned, takumi. It's a Japanese term that refers to the skills backed by deep wisdom and insights about ways of doing things. Traditionally, it refers to the specialized and artistic skills that characterize work done by traditional art, artisans such as carpenters, woodprint artists, and weavers. Takumi is about researchers. This is how we apply it. The researchers need to go beyond simply using a predetermined set of skills because many human and environmental factors dynamically influence the practice. Takumi is a good illustration of how the researchers need to be open to a new reality. Takumi cannot be achieved by simply learning to follow rules and procedures. Rather, it requires cultivating a personhood devoted to advancing the arts and sciences of the practice by working or living with others. Thank you, and I give my turn to the colleagues now. just stop sharing.
Oh, but I think, Pavel, you will continue sharing. It is now
Okay.
time for Dr. Graysel.
Okay.
Yes.
So I can share and
Still,
then
you will use the PowerPoint of prepared by Dr. Pavel, right?
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, let me continue sharing.
Okay, so while Dr. Pavel is uploading the materials, you see we are talking now about present and future directions of qualitative research in Asia. And we have chosen only 4. There are many strategies and strategies and directions, but we have chosen only 4. And the first one comes from the discussion that we had last year. If you remember, we had a speaker, Dr. Elizabeth Rayleigh, and she encouraged that Asian qualitative researchers should not be bound by Western philosophical paradigms. So that's why we have chosen that as our first topic. Then the second topic is, this is the direction that we really want to emphasize here in Asia as we work on qualitative research. And that is that we use well-established research designs, methods, and frameworks. So now we give the time to Dr. Graysel Saban. Yes, Sel, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Arceli. I'd like to greet our AQRA family a pleasant day, whatever time it is in your place right now. So my part is this, it's well-established research designs, methods, and frameworks. Can we go to the next, Pavel? Yes, the use of, well, without a doubt, we know that the use of well-established research designs, methods, and frameworks is emergent in Asia. And at this point, I'd like to ask you, can you write in the chat 3 to 5 very quickly, just for maybe about 30 seconds to 1 minute at most? Can you write in the chat 3 to 5 commonly used qualitative approaches and designs in most parts of Asia? Can you respond now in the chat? What do you think are the commonly used QLR designs that we see being published, being presented, especially in the last 3 years? Okay, I'm seeing your response. Thank you. Keep them coming. Okay, phenomenology. I'm reading case study, narrative analysis. Okay, we're talking about designs or approaches. Okay, uh, case study, phenomenology, content analysis, textual. Wow, I can see that the most dominant for now is phenomenology, ethnography, case study, inquiry. Okay, 10 seconds more. Thank you. Thank you to those who are writing very quickly just to, yes. Okay. Thank you so much for responding to those who have written in the chat. Okay. For the next slide, we know that, Dr. Pavel, could you please go to the next slide? Okay. Through the years, at least in most parts of Asia, the 5 most commonly used qualitative approaches or designs are, we have, what do we have there? We have the narrative inquiry, phenomenology, grounded theory, ethnography, and case study. These are the 5 commonly used designs. However, it's not just limited to these 5. We also have the other designs. Not only this, we also have others. In the next slide, it's going to show you photo voice, interpretive description, action research, discourse analysis, and auto ethnography. And each design will actually warrant an entire time for discussion for the specifics. But for the next slide here, okay, I'd like to focus on this thought. Okay, when we think about well-established research designs, methods, and frameworks, I want to say that qualitative researchers must not simply say that they are doing qualitative research. In the past years, I believe we would commonly see abstracts and then they would say, okay, this qualitative research and so on. And you will not see any specific design in the abstract, for example. That's the reason, for example, here in AQRA, whenever we have our conference, part of our checklist for abstract approval is that those who submit their abstract must specify their design. So researchers must not just say, okay, I'm doing a qualitative research, and they must also articulate what the design is. They must say, this is a phenomenological study or case study or whatever. Okay. And then the next is they must also rationalize the fit between their methodology and the purpose of the study, the research questions, their participants, and their research context. When I talk about fit, it must be a justifiable fit. When a design is presented, it must also be explained in a specific way because it adds to the, you know, to the level of trustworthiness of the study. Like, why is your design, the best fit for your purpose and for the context of the study? So rationalize the fit of that particular design vis-a-vis the methodology overall, the purpose, the questions, the context, the participants. Okay. The next, I'd like to also emphasize here that qualitative researchers must also use methods that other researchers have used and critiqued, right? And they must know the strengths and limitations. Because if a QLR researcher knows the strengths and limitations of a particular design, he or she can navigate on how to use it, on how to maximize the strengths of that design, and how to somehow minimize, if not totally eliminate, the limitations that it may pose in the study. All right. Now, yes, so in the next part, let me just proceed to the, for example, okay, if the researcher is using a narrative inquiry, it is a good practice actually for that researcher to use narrative interviewing frameworks by King, Horax, and Brooks. And if you are doing, okay, I'm referring to you, if you're doing a transcendental phenomenological a type of phenomenological study and you want to implement this kind of interview, Seidman's phenomenological interview or Mustaka's interview framework, are actually recommended. Another one is the photo voice study. And if you want to use a photo voice design, then use the SHOWED framework by Wallerstein and Bernstein. And SHOWED actually is a mnemonic device of how it is, SHOWED, right? The S, what do you see here? The H, what is really happening here? And then the O, how does this relate to our OUR lives? And W, why does this problem exist? From the word why, that's where the W comes from. And E, how can we be empowered by this? That's letter E. And what can we do about it? Yeah, if you want to do photo voice, that's actually a recommended framework. Next, case study. Use the data analysis framework of Yin or the thematic analysis of Braun and Clark. Thank you. And then, okay, I have a note here. For data analysis, it is also a good practice to use a framework always. It's something that has been used only recently, I believe, because in the maybe 5 years, even earlier, we would not see a framework being used. I mean, being also included in a qualitative study. So it is a good practice to use a framework, especially one that is within the methodological tradition. So again, it must be something that is supported philosophically. Yes, next slide. Okay, I have a question here. Is it possible to combine qualitative methodologies and methods? I'd like you to answer in the chat very quickly. I didn't prepare any. Um, yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for is it possible? A big yes. YES. For example, in the next slide, I'm about to end. Yeah, because while we advocate the use of well-established method, we also encourage, dear AQRA family, qualitative researchers to combine, to combine in a complementing way, to combine thoughtfully, okay, methodologies and methods. Okay. And for example, okay, before I go to my conclusion, for example, I have two examples here. Examples of QLR hybridization of methodologies and methods. In terms of methodology, at Petre, in her study, this is Janina Petre 2020, she combined action research with photo voice and case study. So you see the eclectic use of the three designs in one study as deemed appropriate by the researcher. In terms of methods, data, I'm referring to the data collection methods. Besco did a narrative inquiry. And for his data collection, he used in-depth interview, shadowing, and aesthetic portrayal. So it's possible. However, the tip there is um, it has the combination should be done thoughtfully. It should be a fit to the entire purpose of the study and the design, the context, and the it's not just for the sake of it. I want to combine this two, you know. It depends on what the study is calling for. Okay. In conclusion, in the next slide, we have here, Dr. Pavel. Yes. This direction to empower qualitative researchers to use well-established designs, methods, and framework is believed to be a significant step. Would you agree? It's a significant step towards ensuring that qualitative research studies in Asia are theoretically and empirically sound. The next one is methodologically rigorous and equitably ethical. If you believe that the future of qualitative research in Asia is bright, thumb up or say yes in the chat. Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Graysel. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. This is now time for David. And David, please present your part in 5 minutes. And this time, we will learn from David how data collection in the Asian setting is done. So go ahead, David, please. We are making this presentation with the assumption that there are differences when you gather data in the West and differences when you are gathering data from Asia. Yes, David, come in, please.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was muted. So, yeah, so I'm not going to talk about data collection. Oh, sorry, where's my picture? Okay, there you go. Yeah, so today we are not going to talk about the data collection methods per se, because I believe the methods themselves would be about the same between cultures. But what I'm going to talk about today is some of the effects that different cultures might have on your data collection processes, right? Especially in the Asian setting. To frame this, where's my cursor then? Oh, sorry, there's something wrong with my computer. Oh. Oh, okay, there you go. Okay, so to frame my my attempt on identifying the different cultural particularities between the countries, I used the cultural differences that was mentioned by Gert Hofstede. Yeah, Gert Hofstede. Basically, there are 6 types of cultural differences, right? One, it could be individualism versus collectivism. There could be power distances, uncertainty avoidances, differences between cultures, masculinity versus femininity, long-term versus short-term orientation, and indulgence versus restraint. Now, I don't believe we can cover all of this since I've been given 5 minutes only by Faroseli. So we'll go as far as we can go. Probably we'll cover 2 for today, and we can cover the rest in our next colloquiums. So, and when I'm talking about cultural differences, of course, this is an overgeneralization. There will be many minute differences between individuals, but what I'm trying to say is this is so that you can increase your sensitivity as a researcher when you're doing data collection. Okay, so maybe we'll just handle the first 2 for today. First, there are differences between cultures with respect to individualism and collectivism. Now, according to Gert, what is individualism and what is collectivism? Individualism pertains to the to societies in which the ties between individuals are loose. Like everyone is expected to look after him or herself and his or her own immediate family. So that's individualism. While a culture that is collectivism is the opposite. Basically, it pertains to societies in which people form cohesive in-groups, which throughout the person's lifetime continue to protect them and in exchange for unquestioning loyalty. So basically, it's a collective group. Now, research shows, well, this is one of the very few times that we're going to see numbers in qualitative research, but this is a quantitative research basically that shows that calculates individualism index between countries. Now I've just, I'm putting on the screen a few countries. This research was actually for around 78 countries. But as you can see here, I've tried to contrast some Western countries with Asian countries, right? As you can see here, Asian countries are countries that are low in individualism index. So basically, Asians are more collective. Yeah? Asians are more collective. And there are many key differences. As you can see, there's a lot. So I'm not going to talk about each of them, the difference between collectivist and individualist societies. But at least for now, we can focus on a few, a few. Here are some of the excerpts that I just got from this slide over here. And I'm going to mention a few, right? In an individualist society, the private life sorry, this is reverse, right? In individualist, everyone has the right to privacy, while in collectivist, so this one should be on the other side. Sorry for that. But anyways, it should be here, right? In collectivist, private life is invaded by groups, right? By groups. So what are its effects? Yeah, what are its effects? So the effect when you are doing your data collection is that it is okay in Asian context, in a collectivist context, to ask questions about personal life. And many times that would serve as icebreakers. It's okay to ask, how many children do you have? Where are they working now? And so on. And sometimes it is also okay to ask about their income. So how much do you earn working in that company, right? So, so that's one, yeah, that's one. Another one is that in collectivist societies, again, this is switch, I suppose. Opinions are predetermined by the group membership. Yeah, so, sorry for that. So this one should be here. This one should be here. So opinions are predetermined by group membership. So how will it affect your data collection? It means that it is important for the researcher to be accepted by the community before the data collection. You don't just come to one person in the community. You really need to get to know more than just one person in the community and be accepted by the community before you are going to be accepted and people will give freely their information to you. Here's some other things, right? Again, I think this is, I'm sorry for this. This was, yeah, this should be here. I'm sorry about that one. I'm sorry. In the collectivist,
yeah,
the harmony is is important. Yeah, harmony is important, and consensus within the society are the ultimate goals, right? Uh, and uh, and people only speak when sanctioned by the group. Yeah, I'm again sorry for this. I was trying to complete this and give it to Dr. Pavel earlier. Uh, sorry about that, that mix up. So people only speak when sanctioned by the group, and harmony and consensus in the society are the ultimate goals. So what are its effects? Yeah. First, of course, when you speak only when you are sanctioned by the group, it is definitely easier to get your saturation point, right? Because everyone tend to have the same ideas. So easier to get saturation point. And the other fact is that if the research is perceived to be a threat to any member of the society, then it probably will be rejected by all, right? So be very careful in Asian context that you don't hurt anyone in the society, even though they are marginalized people in the society, because harmony and consensus in the group is expected. So I have 4 minutes, right, Po?
No,
Well,
it's time, David.
okay. Anyways, so we're only able to cover one. We might be able to cover more later on in our future colloquiums. So with that, I concede my time to the next speaker, Dr. Arceli.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, David. So, Pavel, can you please show the PowerPoint slides? By the way, so we learned that adopting culturally relevant data collection methods is one direction that we Asian researchers should be aware of. So that is very important, and you see that there are many elements there that we should observe, and we will give more time to perhaps each of us in the next colloquia. This is just an introduction, although I think my part, I can finish this. We talked about this one during our AQRA conference, and that is building a community of qualitative researchers. We emphasize that for research, qualitative research, to really grow in Asia, we need to come together as a community. We have to understand that we need one another. We need to support each other so that we can grow. From the presentation of Dr. Pavel, we learned actually that Asia is a rich breeding place, I would say. Maybe that word breeding is not a very nice word, but just to give a metaphor, that this is a good breeding place for Asia. This is a fit place, a rich place where qualitative research can really grow and bloom to its best or highest level. These days we say, oh, qualitative research is not accepted in Asia, but we have learned that qualitative research is not contradictory to our indigenous philosophical framework as Asians. And also we learned from David that, in fact, this is the best place to gather qualitative data. I am doing a qualitative research study now with a team that comes from different parts of the world. And we stopped this study for a moment because my colleague said, oh, it is so difficult to interview people. They do not like us. And so we were faced with many challenges. I would like to read here what Elizabeth Rayleigh, one of our AQRA mentors, said: qualitative research has a way of embedding us deeply and immediately in the lives of other people. And it's both a privilege and a responsibility. It requires a continual interrogation of self. We have to ask, who am I? And who am I in my relationship to you? And what can we learn together? And how can we grow together through our investigation and our learning? And where else in the world can we find a people who are willing to learn together than in Asia? Of course, I know in Africa, this is also true, and in other parts of the world, but we say that we are in the right place. So what we have done here is to create a community, and that this is the Asian Qualitative Research Association. Pavel, please, that slide, next slide. So we created this one in 2015, and we are now on our 7th year. As you see, we have grown into thousands and thousands of members. Our vision is to be the leading Asian, a leading qualitative research association and beyond. And our mission, we are committed to our mission, and that is to promote qualitative research and develop qualitative research scholars. Our objectives are the following, and to summarize, our objective really is to bring to Asia a certain quality, a high level of qualitative research. Next slide, please. And we are committed to our core values, which are service, empowerment, and quality. And so here, we want to show to you what we have done as an association, next slide, to build a strong community. We have certain advocacies. We have trainings on qualitative research designs. And since the beginning, we have, I think, between 30 and 40 trainings. And we are, in fact, you know, recently, the most recent one, I think that was in the first week of December. We always limit our number to 40 participants, but we reached 81 participants in that most recent training. We hold annual research conferences. In fact, there was a time that we held AQRA reunions. Our executive committee members went to different places. We went up to Lawag, and we went down to Sultan Kudarat, I believe, no, to Coronadal. We also have our research grants. We have the AQRA Heart Award. We are holding virtual events twice a month. We provide mentoring, especially to novice researchers, those who are doing theses and dissertations. Next slide, please. And we are also building international linkages, and these are the few, and we are happy that our linkages are strongly supporting us, like the GCAR, we see them here, Dr. King Costa and his colleagues, and we have also GenCon from Kazakhstan, we have WCQR from Portugal, and recently we are connected with the SAGE method space. And oh, you will be happy to know that we have published, it's coming out very soon, our publication, the SAGE Handbook on Qualitative Research in the Asian Context. We are very proud because this book is authored by our AQRA members in different parts of the world, and we are partnering with training centers so we can attend to our trainings, and we are partnering also with our AQRA member schools. We are planning to have, next slide, we are planning to have another conference coming very soon, and we call this the AQRA International Collaborative Research. And for our future plans, we are planning to create an AQRA Ethics Review Board. That is, if we can help our members so that your study will really be reviewed, they will be ethically sound, so that when you publish and you will be asked, you have proof that your studies have been reviewed. And very soon also, we are planning to have our AQRA Research Journal. This is our last slide, and we'll leave these words to you. And I wrote this with my colleagues We published this one in 2020. Our conversations should not stop here. We continue to engage in more frequent and deeper conversations that challenge us, that push us to points of ambiguities and even bewilderment. In the end, according to Charmas, we will transform our images of studied life, and our research journey will transform us. We invite you, continue joining us, be a part of a community of qualitative researchers, be a part of AQRA. Okay, thank you so much. Pavel, allow me to continue with our slide now, our program slide. You know, Dr. Gracel, Dr. David, we do not have time for question and answer anymore. We are sorry. But kindly get the questions, and we will try to respond to the questions in our AQRA FB page. So, Sel, very quickly, please present this one. Maybe you don't have to read anymore.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Arceli. Yes, on behalf of AQRA family and AQRA leadership team, I present these certificates to our resource speakers this afternoon. And you can see the text as flashed to Dr. Arceli Rosario, Dr. David Lamoa, and Dr. Pavel Zubkov. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise in this area. Congratulations.
Thank you, Sel. Now we are coming to a very important event, and